Welcome to the Snugpod Cast. How is everyone doing tonight?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
I am never separate. I am joined, as always, with two of my three other co-hosts. Gwen cannot be with us tonight, but we'll start from the far end this time with Sasquatch. How you been, bud?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and that was my fault. Oh, no.
Oh, it wasn't me this week.
It was me this week. Okay.
You are in a space-time continuum, or
yes,
something like that.
A loop of Never's voice. Forever and never and never and never. See what I did
Forever,
there?
never.
Okay, let's start over. I'm never separate. And we, on the far right of the screen, if you're watching, is Sasquatch. How have you been?
Good.
What have you been up to?
Making lots of money.
I bet you're still doing lots of writs.
I'm still doing so many writs.
The writs go on for days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet we're all still wearing the same outfits.
Mm-hmm.
No,
yeah, I'm overdue for an update on my outfit.
No, I just have lots of these in my closet. It's like when you watch those movies with Ernest or you know, those characters that always look the same. Whenever they go to their closet, they just have lots of the same things just in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Nice.
Yeah.
And in the middle... Oh, were you not done? Go ahead.
I was just going to say I finally got around today to start posting some of my extra motifs. So, hoping that stuff sells and have a lot more money coming in.
Yeah. Woo-hoo! I'm getting a lot of motifs, and I'm thankfully getting a lot of them that I didn't know between my 9 characters and their 7 crafting writs apiece. I usually end up with probably 4 or 5 at least new motifs, if not more. Sometimes I'm getting 2 or 3 on multiple characters, so that's been nice. And I'm getting several that I already knew, so I'll hopefully be able to sell those as well. Yeah. So, all right. In the middle, we have Gone Crazy Back Soon. What have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. Lots. Mostly my stuff's been out of game though. In-game writs, just like you guys. Lots of motifs. Still doing random daily, just like kind of running through and picking a random zone and finding a daily there and doing it every day. Eating lots of cake. I'm going to be put on some extra pounds this week, I think, probably from the amount of cake that has been consumed to get event tickets. And yeah, other than that, I was at Extra Life United this last week for 3 days. Extra Life is a fundraising thing where gamers play games, and basically you help heal kids. It's part of the Children's Miracle Network hospitals group. Well, it's associated with them. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like part of them. But it's super easy. All you do is you game and get donations. The one that they did this week was in person here where I live locally, which was really, really cool to be able to go to that event live. First of all, because of how the world has been the last few years. It's one of the first like big, what I would call convention things that I've been able to go to. And everything felt very safe and just, it was really fun to be in a room full of gamers who were having fun and raising money for kids and, you know, helping kids for those Children's Miracle Network hospitals that, you know, their families may not be able to always pay for their treatments. So it's a really cool thing that the gaming community does.
For sure. And are either of you guys by chance on a Extra Life team?
Sure am.
Oh yeah?
I'm on a team called the Elder Heroes. Last year was our first year, but the team, I think last year we had like, I want to say 10 or 12 people on it. But it's mostly made up of like podcasters and people that you all would be familiar with. So It's got Lotus of Doom on it. Pylon from the UESP was on it. Arcaneer, from Tales of Tamriel. All of those people are on that team and kind of come together to help fundraise. Crown Esso is another one. Lord Grizz. Everybody plays Elder Scrolls Online, but they do a lot of other things as well. Other games to supplement because we fundraise throughout the year. So Extra Life has one game day that's typically on November 5th or 6th. I think it's on the 5th, usually, unless there's a reason why it wouldn't be, for some odd reason. But typically it's on the 5th. And a lot of gamers will do like 24-hour streams or things like that during that time period to help raise the money and do incentives and things like that. But you can fundraise throughout the entire year. So I think the team this year is already up to around $1,200.
Nice.
When I went to Extra Life United, I didn't get to sign up to play any of the games, unfortunately. But at Extra Life United, the way it works is you can sign up and then you can game right there live in person in tournament-style games for money. So there were people that won, I think the full jackpot for everything was like $250,000 or something like that, but it was split up obviously over all the games and throughout the whole thing. So there were things like you could win, I think, up to like $4,000 for certain games if you placed in first in the tournaments, which is pretty cool. And then they had like, first, second, thirds, things like that. And I heard, I don't know if this is the final number, but I heard that just during those 3 days, because you could attend the event both virtually as well as in person, that I think they said around $56,000 was raised by gamers across those 3 days this past week.
Wow.
So that's pretty incredible. I know Extra Life is over, I think last year they hit the, I want to say 100 million mark? There was something like that. It was a pretty huge number.
I remember it being a big number.
Yeah, our team, the Elder Heroes, last year, we started off with a $5,000 goal, and by the end of the year, amongst all of us, we had raised $15,000.
That's awesome.
So it was a really, really awesome experience. And you can do it by yourself. You don't have to be a podcaster. You don't have to be anything like that. I tell people all the time, like, just sign up for it, join a team if you want, and game, and if you're comfortable, asking for donations and having people donate to you so that you can game and help kids get better, then why not do it? It's free to do, and even $1 helps. Set yourself a reasonable goal. My first year, I think I set a goal of like $50.
And then you blew that away, right?
Yeah. Last year I did 500, which was awesome. So
yeah,
nice.
But yeah, we kept having to up it. We started at 5,000 as a team, then it went to 7,500 as a team, then it went to like I think we did 10,000, and then by the time UESP did their big push and Tales did their big push, I think for their 24-hour streams, it was, I think by the end of the year we were over 15,000. And we have other lore seekers too. I forgot to mention Toasted Peanut, one of our PC lore seekers. He did, I think, $1,000 last year as part of the Elder Heroes too. So it's awesome. And I think there's some other people in this Snugpod with me that I should get to join, and we can do dungeon runs and raise money. I'm just saying.
That is a thing that might be discussed. So... yeah. But not right now, because I think we have plenty of other things to discuss tonight.
We sure do. Sorry, that was a little long-winded. That's what I've been up to. What I've been up to this week. Basically, I got to go to an awesome convention. I got to meet a lot of amazing streamers and gamers, and hang out and raise money to help kids get better. And that was really humbling. You get to meet the kids too. That's the other thing. They had champions there for. The champions that are the national champions for Children's Miracle Network. And I tell you what, some of those kids are incredible. I stood outside of myself when this one little girl was talking. She had, real quick, just as an example, she had like an electrical reel, like one of those big, hefty, like, the orange ones with a handle that you would like wind a big 50-foot electrical cord up or something on.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh, yeah.
it was filled with beads. So it had like this really long, like one strand, and it had all of these beads on it. And she sat up there and she's like, each one of these beads is a procedure that I've had done. And I was like, whoa, what? Like my brain exploded. Yeah. I'm like sitting there, you know, just like, what? And she's like, yeah, this color's for every time I've had blood drawn, and this color's for every time I've had this happen, and this color's for every time I've lost my hair, and this color is for... And I just, I sat there just in awe, first of all, at how amazing this kid was, and just in shock at how many beads I was seeing on said reel. And just, yeah, it was an incredible experience to hear those kids talk. And she was one of the ones, I have a video up, maybe I can try and repost it from our Snugpod Twitter, but she said, I think one of the most poignant things that stuck out to me that she said was, she said, I've seen my friends die of cancer, and what you all don't realize is that you're giving them a second chance. And I was just like, just like sitting there crying in a chair, because she said, you know, we should be thanking you because you're doing so much to help us, and I think she said, keep fighting and keep going. And that was the last thing she said. And then she said, thank you. And I was just like completely wrecked. So, yeah, it was incredible. I could sit here and go on about it for 2 hours, but we don't have time because we have so many things to talk about. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I know one of the hospitals that's on the list of in the network, however you phrase that, is, and I won't go into details on this tonight, maybe we save that for another time, but is the hospital that my daughter was at and spent 2 months in when she was born. And that's one of the reasons that I have considered trying to get into doing this stuff too, is just because my daughter's case wasn't as severe, thankfully, but being in that place for that long, just getting to talk to some of the parents with children that were really struggling was something that makes you quickly realize how easy it is to take for granted. Having a healthy child that runs around and plays and does all the things you see kids do, and then you have parents that wonder if they'll ever have that with their kid.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good thing to be involved with. Anytime you can help families that are dealing with that stuff. So real quick, if you want, because you said you can donate year round, if you want to tell them where they can go to do that.
Yeah, you can go to extralife.org, and you should be able to search for our team, the Elder Heroes. Speaking of which, there's a couple in our chat right now. Crown Esso just popped in there, and Shantyman, I think, are you on our team? I can't remember. But anyway, because we're changing people over constantly, because you have to restart every year with your teammates. You go to extralife.org, and then you can search for the Elder Heroes. And if you click on that, it should pull up all of us, and then you can choose who you want to donate to. Any person that you donate to, it goes towards our team goal overall, whatever that number is. But individually, you can donate, and it will go towards whatever that hospital is that particular team member has chosen. So we have some people who play for Stollery Kids up in Canada. I play for Arnold Palmer here in Orlando. And then I know at one point Pylon was playing for hospitals up there near Ontario. And I think Lotus of Doom plays for maybe Boston's Children's Hospital. I'm not sure. So you have a lot of options of different hospitals that you can choose, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And all good options too.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So if that's something that you are able and interested in supporting, definitely go and check that out.
For sure.
And now, Go ahead. You have something? I heard
Yeah, Cronesso just posted in chat. It's extra-life.org.
Thank you, Crown.
And so
yes.
it'd be /team/elder heroes EL is the direct link. So.
And I do apologize for anyone. I don't see the chat because I am streaming to YouTube right now to pull the audio from later. So I'm relying on them to tell me if anything pops up there, which is, thank you for that. So, all right. So if you're here, chances are you want to hear about ESO stuff. Yeah. And we have got some ESO stuff to talk about.
We have, but there's two quick things I want to mention really quick before we dive into the news. Is that okay?
It's ESO stuff.
It's true. First one is we ran Shipwright's Regret.
Yes, we did.
Holy moly, that dungeon is amazing. I don't know if we want to talk about it too much because we don't have Gwen here, but if you haven't run it, go do it.
Yes, and turn out the lights.
Yeah.
And wear a headset.
Yeah. Super. Yeah, so you can hear the dialogue. Or make sure that you also, I actually found it helpful, I had the subtitles on. So turn on your subtitles so you can hear some of the stuff in the background. And the other thing is we have a screenshot contest winner for Lore Seekers, our screenshot contest on PlayStation, and that's Pocket Lightning. So the theme was Jester's Festival, and she won with the most amount of votes. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
And
Congrats.
We will be getting that prize to you soon. Has it been sent yet? It hasn't been sent yet, right?
It has not been sent yet.
Yes, we will get that to you soon. So maybe by the time you're hearing this, if you're not watching, then you will have gotten that. All right. So the first couple things with the news, just some things to go down through sort of quickly. There is an ESO free play event going on. That's going on now, right?
Yep, through April 26th.
Yep. So if you are listening and you haven't played ESO, or maybe you've played in the past, sold your copy, whatever, and you want to check it out, see what's changed, what's new, what this game is all about, then you can jump in and do that for free. Get a good little run to the 26th is still like 9 days away, so that gives you a pretty good amount of time to get a feel for what's going on in the game. Blackwood, the most recent chapter, not counting the upcoming chapter, 67% off, so you can pick that up pretty cheap. I think it's $15 for the upgrade if you don't already have it, or if you have the game but not the chapter, something like that. I don't remember. I remember seeing the price, but it's cheap. And crown packs are on sale through April 20th. The more crowns you buy, the bigger the discount. It's kind of the usual thing.
It's because they want us to buy crowns for that Seavale Spire, because that place is amazing.
Yeah. So if you have been looking to add some crowns to your wallet, now is the time to do so.
The other thing, too, with the free play event is if you do the free play and then you purchase the base game, you don't lose any of your progress.
Good point.
Yep. So there you go. Good incentive.
And
Crown says, buy crowns, fools.
And if you really, like what you see when you start playing, then you can go ahead and just pre-order the upcoming High Isle chapter version, and then you will get everything. So that's an option for you as well. And I think that is
also with the free. Sorry.
No.
Also with the free play, the prologue quest for High Isle, you'd be able to play that. So it's with the base game. So they had mentioned that with the free play, you can do the prologue for the upcoming chapter.
Because everybody gets Morrowind now.
Yep.
Yes.
Aha.
And then we have an event coming up. Did they give a date on that yet?
June. They just put June.
Just broad strokes, sometime in June.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
yeah.
What's that called?
It is the Zeal of Zenithar, which I'm guessing it's going to be just before the chapter release, because the chapter release is what date?
Oh, yeah.
It's mid-June.
Well,
it's June.
Is it June 1st for PC?
20. No, 20.
It's like
hold
26th for.
One moment.
And then it's 2 weeks before for PC. I know that. Oh, Crown SO says 17th and 23rd. Okay, so they're a week apart.
Are they only a week apart this time? It normally is 2 weeks.
Yeah, it normally is 2 weeks. So
we did have that one time where they were only a week, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So my guess is the celebration will be leading up to that. And a little speculation on that. It's probably going to be some crafting, potentially commerce, because Zenithar is the god of work and commerce. And then also we're talking about it being a Blackwood anniversary celebration, because there's some heavy Zenithar influences in Blackwood. There's the Zenithar's Abbey public dungeon, so it's a good chance. Could be kind of wrapping up the year with the Blackwood celebration.
So do we think by saying that it might have something to do with crafting, we're going to get to do even more crafting writs?
Oh, man. We'll see.
I can't wait to do more crafting writs. They are the most fun thing in the world to do.
Okay, Crown SO gave an update. It's actually June 6th and 21st.
Okay.
So there you go.
I was thinking it was closer to the beginning of June for PC. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it usually is. It usually is.
All right.
Cool.
So that's the quick topics that we can just kind of bullet point there. Now we get to get into several articles that have come out in the last week or so regarding things coming with High Isle and my goodness.
The nitty-gritty. Combat changes.
Yeah, combat changes coming with Update 34, which Update 34 launches with High Isle, right?
Yep. Because we're in 33 now. So 34 will be that.
So
34 does come after 33.
That explains so much.
1, 2, skip a few, 33, 34.
My update 36 for my personal life is coming next month.
Nice. Are you going to level up?
Well put.
I'm going to level up.
How many champion points do you have?
Hopefully there's no bugs. Hopefully there's no bugs. Okay.
You've been playing this game called Life for nearly 36 years. What's your champion points?
Oh, a lot. I have a lot of CP, but it's probably all slotted into stupid stuff. Useless knowledge, random dance routines.
Hey, it's got you this far.
It's true.
So there's an article kind of detailing some of the changes coming with Update 34. It's not full patch notes, just kind of gives you sort of broad overview with a few specific things on what they're intending to do. Starts off and says, about that time of year, the latest chapter is coming up. Combat team would like to talk about some changes coming in Update 34 and provide some insight on where we're coming from. And they say since it's the big chapter, they're continuing the approach from last year, slowing down on large-scale combat changes since there's already a lot of new systems and features to take in. But there are going to be quite a few smaller adjustments. And they say, let's quickly talk about the impact of previous updates, combat changes, hybridization, almost everything in the game regarding character combat stats and scaling of abilities and sets. pretty healthy shift. So basically, they're going just back on what they've done already, saying that they've seen kind of some good positive feedback on how people are choosing their skills and what they play with the new setup, and that moving forward, dedicated to addressing any fallouts that happens as a result of this, ensuring that the original goal of enabling player choice and customization is still being met.
Yeah.
So what else does it say?
Well, I think it's nice to hear that there has been a little bit of a shift now that they've done the hybridization stuff, but I do think that it will be neat to see what happens as they continue to shift this, because they're saying that the meta is changing now, basically. And because the meta is changing, they're having to make changes that will make people focus on different things, basically. Because what happened with update 33 was kind of like people started noticing, like, oh, if I take this stam morph, then I get this extra thing, even though I'm not a stam character and I'm not ever going to use that stam skill. But if I have that morph, it gives me, extra weapon damage or whatever. So because of that, it is changing the meta, and it's making people use different gear and different, weapons, different armors, things like that. So this update's going to improve the different morph options to make them be closer in power to each other, so that it will... It's not that they don't want people to do that, but you know what I'm saying?
Basically, it's forcing people to use the same... forcing people into it for a different reason than it forced people into it before, where instead of it being about the stat that it uses, now it's about the particular advantage you get from one over the other.
Correct, because it was causing people to look at the additional effects rather than what the actual morph was utilizing in the past. So, it's changing how the meta works because of that. So they're saying that for this first one, they're going to mostly focus on class abilities because of that. Because I can't even imagine if they tried to do a pass at everything, it would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So class abilities being first, I think, is smart, because that's a much smaller set, So yeah, hopefully that'll be good. And the other thing too is they said that they want to focus on bringing up lesser utilized morphs' power rather than bringing down the ones that everybody is using. So because of that, hopefully it will feel more like buffing rather than nerfing everything. So hopefully that will help, again, with this hybridization piece that they've been working on so much. So they do call out a couple particular ones. Should we go over those, or do we want to just
Yeah, we could touch on those. There's not... we got, 5 here in the notes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not...
I think these were just, examples of ones that they were noticing that people have been, using different things with.
Yeah, they just brought these up as just sort of examples. The patch notes, when those come out, well, obviously we'll have the full breakdown, but yeah, the first one is Teleport Strike, which, forgive me, I know I'm an ESO podcaster now. I'm supposed to know all things.
It's a Nightblade skill.
It's a Nightblade skill, yes. That's what I was about to say. I was gonna have you verify that for me, since you're our resident Nightblade in the room.
Yes.
So, Ambush, or Teleport Strike, the Ambush morph, will be getting increased duration of Empower granted to 10 seconds, up from 3. The morph will also grant Minor Berserk for its duration. I don't know what a duration is. So yeah, words. So that's a solid. That's more than 3 times. That's just over 3 times the length. Just 3 seconds. It's long enough, but it makes you have to recast an ability several times if you want to keep it active, where 10 seconds gives you a pretty good amount of time to work your rotation without having to reapply the skill.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I already used this skill. So, either I'm doing it wrong, or because it's a stam skill. So, like, I'm just going to use mine as an example right now. So it says flash through shadows, and then it deals physical damage, afflicts with minor vulnerability for 10 seconds, and increases damage taken by 5%. But then the piece that they're talking about is also grants Empower for 3 seconds, increasing damage of your light and heavy attacks by 40%. So that means now it's going to go for 10 seconds, up from 3, and it's also going to grant Minor Berserk.
Is Minor Berserk the 5% damage increase?
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. So
it's the same thing that's on the monster set both of us are wearing, correct?
Yes. So I would like to know, does that mean they are removing Empower?
No, they're keeping Empower, but the question would be whether or not they were just removing the
light and
5% damage increase and replacing it with Minor Berserk.
So are we replacing Minor Vulnerability with Minor Berserk and then also doing the Empower, or are we stacking all of that? Because that's going to be incredibly overpowered. Maybe not.
It sounds like... So right now it applies Minor Vulnerability, which is, what, is that increased damage taken?
By 5%. But I also increase the damage of my light and heavy attacks by 40%.
So that's staying. That's getting extended. That's going
to get extended to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you'll have Minor Berserk. I wonder what... Maybe because Minor Berserk is something you didn't previously have access to in your class skills, they're adding that. Because that's one thing that they're wanting to try to do is give, through your class skills, they're wanting to have access to more of these things. So that may be part of why they're changing that. Because vulnerability you can get from some of your other weapon skill lines and things, I believe.
Yeah, and the other thing too is then it allows people to not feel like they're forced into Slimecraw, right? Because right now Slimecraw is one of the kind of meta sets for damage dealers, or at least, in some cases I would say, because of getting that extra 5%. But if they're going to add it here, and you can get Minor Vulnerability from somewhere else, it's probably kind of a wash. But at the same time, it also opens up other options for different monster sets.
Yeah, it'll give you the ability to use one skill versus a 5-piece, or a 2-piece set. You can change your monster set.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Next skill is Overload. That is a sorcerer ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Morph Energy Overload, the Morph will restore up to 1,200 Magicka and Stamina, rather than 1,192 Magicka. Now, I have a confession to make. I can't read sometimes. I'm illegitimate. And so when I first read this, I thought, well, why is this even in the notes? That's such an insignificant change. It's going from 1192 to 1200 Magicka. Completely skipped over the and stamina part of that. And so...
Damn Sorks.
So, yeah.
You're going to be happy.
Yeah, so now that skill is going to restore both resources and just slightly more of both than it did of the one by itself. So that is definitely a pretty solid change there. So you'll have access to to a good sustainability from either resource pool. Sasquatch, do you use that ability?
I can't remember what morph I use, but I haven't been playing my Sork in a while, so I'd have to look it up.
You went wardy and never went back.
Right?
That's okay. Wardens are cool. Yeah. They have bears that stick their butt in your face.
Yes.
Somebody sounds a little upset about what happened in the Snugpod earlier.
I just don't want bear butt in my face.
Cats don't like bears, apparently. It's fine.
Next, we've got Rite of Passage. I believe that's a Templar ability, even though I'm a Templar, I should know this, right?
You're a Templar!
Yeah. Names of things, I push buttons, So practiced incantation morph will allow you to move... Oh, yeah. at a reduced rate while channeling it, rather than being unable to move at all. So previously, this is a skill that when you were casting, it's a channeled ability, and while you were casting it, you were just stuck. You couldn't move at all. So now you're going to be able to move at a reduced rate. I don't use that ability. I don't think I have that. I don't even know if I have that on. I'm sure I've unlocked it, but I don't think I have it currently equipable at the moment. But I don't know how fast you'll be able to move, but that's definitely a good change, because who wants to use an ability and be stuck? So yeah, not terribly exciting, but a good change. Sleet Storm, that's going to be a warden ability, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I probably still won't use this because of my bear, but it's cool. It's so it's one that has like a snowstorm around you and does damage. But it says this morph will grant 300 weapon and spell damage for up to 30 seconds after casting, rather than up to 15% max magicka for 30 seconds. So it currently, when you use it, it increases your max magicka. So now instead it will grant 300 weapon and spell damage for up to 30 seconds, which is pretty awesome.
Is that an ultimate?
Yeah.
Okay, you said you're bear, so okay.
Yeah.
Can't give up his bear.
Yeah, gotta have that. Gotta have the bear.
Gotta block the crafting station somehow.
What is the up to 30 seconds part? How does that work? Like, what's the determining factor on the length?
The level of the skill 1 through 4. So as you level up the skill, I think it increases the length, the duration.
All right.
Yeah.
And then we've got Restoring Tether and Shocking Siphon, which are necro skills?
I would assume so, because that's what's not been covered yet, right?
Yeah.
So, sure.
Yeah, I'm just...
if we're looking at class skills.
So, Mortal...
Sounds like a necro ability.
Mortal Coil and Mystic Siphon morphs will increase your health, magicka, and stamina recovery by up to 150 while active, rather than restoring up to 1260 stamina or magicka over their duration. I don't know. I guess because it's all 3 stats versus 1, you get recovery for all 3. I don't know. I don't play a necro. I have one, but I don't play one to know if that's even a skill that would be in my arsenal or not. So, but that's that. That's kind of what they touch on. And they say expect to see a small pass on some of the champion points in the warfare constellation. So that's pretty cool. The champion points are getting updated. You guys, I guess you have seen this, right? So,
yeah.
So what are they doing?
They are going to be adjusting values on the lesser utilized ones to make them be used more. So how I read that, or my understanding from that, would be that they're, you know how there's some that are like just flat, like this is 50 points.
Right.
And then like, oh, this is 10 per level or whatever. I feel like that's what they're adjusting, so that it makes people be like, it's only 5 points for me to do that. I guess I'll take that one instead, you know?
Right.
Versus looking at it and going like, well, there's 50 that have to go in there. Forget that. I don't know if that's truly what it means, but that's kind of how I took that.
Yeah, and then they'll probably adjust where, for example, if you're playing a stamina-based character, you know, there's 2 different ways you can add. There's the passive and then there's the slottable. You can add additional stamina. Maybe it's just too easy of a choice to take that extra stamina over something else you could get instead, and they're going to make that other thing a little more appealing. Which, if you have enough champion points, the passive ones you can pretty well unlock all of those. It doesn't really specify. It says passive node value, so I guess that's not the slottables.
Yeah. I am excited though because they're adding 2 additional stars in the sub-constellations
in
the warfare tree.
Yeah, that first one.
Because this one's huge, especially for me because I wear medium armor. They're going to have one that's focused on helping builds gain access to contextual offensive pen, which is nice because medium armor builds, to be honest, I don't feel like we have a lot of medium armor build sets that have offensive pen unless it's like PvP stuff. Maybe I'm also just dumb when it comes to that because again, I'm not the like most meta person in the world, but I do know that a lot of people who wear medium armor have been taking like, you know, different Mundus and stuff like that because that's one of the things that we don't have a lot of. So, I think it'll be fun to see what some of these content creators do once, you know, that is adjusted a little bit.
Yeah, you know, you'll have access to... They didn't give values on that yet, right?
They did not, and I'm guessing that's probably because when it hits PTS, I guarantee you that they're going into it with like, let's do this, and then we're gonna pull back or whatever.
Right.
Because you know that if there are people that can cap out that pen, they're going to very quickly. Mm-hmm. But I think they also want to try and find the medium, like the happy medium for those medium armor builds of like, okay, if we're going to be adding offensive pen into future sets, how do we want to balance that with the CP so that it's not, you know, so that it's not unbalanced later.
Right.
Well, because also they moved the pen bonus to the light armor from the medium.
Medium.
Correct?
And that was the problem. I think that's what started the problem, basically.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of builds coming out have had a mix of both armor types, which causes you to suffer on one end, but get bonuses from both, just lesser of them.
Or they're using like a lover Mundus to try and make up for some of the pen.
Or the was it sharpened weapon trait?
Weapon trait.
Yeah. So having access to pen elsewhere just further increases your options for, you know, if you want to run infused or Nirnhoned, you know, weapon traits instead. You know, it frees up the, you know, the options on that. You don't have to worry about gear sets that offer it.
Or if you're like me and you never changed, you'll just be so excited that you can be relevant again.
Just now you have some more. Yep. Yep. And then and then to add to that, they're reintroducing the Exploiter Star from the previous iteration of Champion Points. And they say, let there be lightning staves.
Yeah.
So, Exploiter is the champion star that grants extra damage to off-balance enemies, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, throw on a lightning stave, somebody in your group's got it, sets off a whole group of whole group of enemies off balance. Everybody can now just passively do more damage to anything that's off balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with lightning staves, I'm going to ask a stupid question, and this is going to make me sound like a noob.
Wait. You can ask a stupid question if we're allowed to give a stupid answer.
Okay.
All right, deal.
Fair.
Go ahead.
With a lightning stave, can you set multiple enemies off balance at the same time?
You can.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Because, for example, with my Nightblade stuff, a lot of it is single target.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm getting my off balance from surprise attack or whatever that skill is. So
yeah, so if you run, we both got kicked at the same time. All right. So if you're listening and not watching, just ignore. So anyway, so what you do with the lightning staff is you. I won't say all or most because I clearly don't know what everybody does. But one common thing to do, at least, is you run a lightning staff with infused shock enchantment, which... okay, I didn't lose you guys, right? You still there?
Nope. We're still here.
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah. So, and then you throw down Wall of Elements, which is an AOE attack, and anything in that is likely going to get set off balance, unless it resists. So
yeah, I just never have run staves really in ESO, which I need to remedy that because I've never made a character like this has been my main since I started. So,
well, I mean, you could always just mix it up and throw one on your back bar.
That's true. I could. That would be weird.
Many
I played
options
with a stave. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, hybridization is a thing now. So, yeah.
But yeah, there's also a passive in the Destro Staff skill line that... Where is it? You do splash damage with Lightning Staff. Where is it?
Oh,
yeah, Trifocus. Lightning Staff, yeah. Heavy attacks deal damage nearby enemies for 100% of the damage done.
Yeah.
So, on my Sork, I do a lot of heavy attacks. So you get that extra splash damage, which can set them off balance.
Yeah, so. It's the Magicka weapon equivalent of a two-hand sword. Or two-hand melee weapon. Which recently, if I recall correctly, that was one of the changes to two-hand, was the ability to do 100% AoE damage versus 75, I think it was, or something like that.
Which is exactly why some of the mag people have been running two-hander.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, T. I didn't realize. Crown said T the Khajiit mains Nightblade with staves. I'll have to look at that. How did I not know that? I've watched T for forever. I guess I just never caught that.
So, that's all as far as the combat changes, right? Am I missing anything?
Nope.
Yeah, I think that's all we know for now.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait on PTS, patch notes, before we
and there's... Oh, sorry. I didn't
No, go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and there's more. Like, if you actually go to the article on ElderScrollsOnline.com, there is a link that will take you to the forum for a thread for this. So I think there is more from the combat team that's put in there than is in this article. So if you really want to break it down even more, I think you can go visit that section of the forums and you'll be able to see more.
Okay. So what you're saying is what I need to do is just start taking all of our show notes and posting them, so people have all those links and stuff, right?
Or don't delete them and I'll make you a deal. I'll post them in the YouTube comments.
Oh, okay.
At least the links.
Okay, all right. And you guys are getting some behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. Yeah. All right. So from there, we've got the High Isle reveal.
Oh my gosh, I'm so hyped for this.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Did I actually get a chance to look at this? I thought I did.
Well, this is pretty much that's just what's there is the refresh from the actual stream.
Okay, yeah. I did not get to see all of the stream. I did go back and watch everything, I guess, that was part of the main stream before the after show stuff. So I didn't get to see all of the details on the card game, which I heard nobody could hear anyway. So
yeah, poor Jess's mic wasn't working so great.
Yeah, I was trying to watch some of it, and I heard our comments were just like, "Hey, fix the mic." So yeah, technical issues just tend to pop up sometimes. So what do we got? Y'all wanna take that? Start that off?
Sure. Sasquatch is the one that found the was it leaked or not leaked graphic.
Oh yeah. I don't think it was leaked, but
I don't either. But it was the day before, and then they didn't mention some of this stuff, which was interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of why I thought it wasn't leaked, because they didn't even mention it. So, but which I was kind of shocked they didn't mention it, because there's some really cool stuff on there. Like Mundus stones in the armory system.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
That'd be really nice. So.
Yeah, so there was discussion about around why people thought the Mundus stones weren't in the armory system already.
Mm-hmm.
Some not positive discussion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Monetization, perhaps. Yeah. That was one of them.
Yeah, people thought that they weren't doing it just to force you into needing to buy the Mundus stones so you could change it. But they did say when they released the armory system that was something that they were going to try to implement soon. And here it comes.
Yep.
Yeah. That'll be really exciting. They also said there's updates to the quick slot wheel.
Yes.
Which they did mention in the stream because the Tales of Tribute to invite somebody to a game or challenge somebody to a game will be in the quick slot wheel. So I don't know if that's the only change they're doing, or if by adding that they have to just move stuff around, or if the quick slot is for other quick slots. Literally all it said is updates to the quick slot wheel. So
is it going to be a memento?
No, like when you invite somebody to trade, it'll be in that wheel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're considering we'll get to it in a little bit, but they're considering Tales of Tribute like PvP, like when you play versus another person. Like if I were to walk up to you in the Snugpod, I could use my quick slot wheel to invite you to play, and then you just accept it, and we just play standing right here.
You know what?
There's going to be like a story version as well.
You know, I would love to see actually happen with. This is kind of unrelated, but instead of going up and doing that, like if there were just game tables just out in the world, or even a furnishing you could put in your house that you could go up and sit down and just start a game that way.
They didn't really specify, but I feel like that's got to be how you start a PvE version. Like if it's going to be a quest version where you play by yourself, it's got to have something like that, but they didn't go into those details.
I would imagine. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah. I would imagine that would probably be more like walk up and talk to an NPC, and the dialogue would be like, "Would you like to play a game?"
That's true.
Something it probably like that.
Will be.
Yeah.
But having an actual interactive game table would be cool.
That would be amazing.
I think they're going to be putting the game tables into the taverns, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, just to kind of give it the feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you see the details on like how what the quick slots were going to look like, the new quick slot system?
No.
So, someone, I don't remember who this was now at this point, but someone I saw a video showed that off a little bit, and so it looks like it's going to be like a quick slot wheel for assistants, a quick slot wheel for mementos, another one for emotes maybe.
Oh.
And then I don't remember what all maybe your consumables or something would have their own thing. So I don't know how it's going to work on console. They mentioned that you would pull up the wheel normally on PC, and then you would use something to tab through them. So I'm curious to see how they implement that on console, and hopefully whichever one you use last is the one it defaults to. I would imagine that's how it's going to work, because if your consumables are like something you have to tab over to in the middle of combat, I need a potion, or I need to switch to this thing. That could get kind of tricky in the middle of some of the harder combat situations. So I would imagine that they would have to put it in, where it defaults to whichever one you use last. But we'll have to wait and see on that, I guess.
Yeah. A couple things in chat. One of the thing is, Crown said the quest lines for Tales of Tribute will start in a bar, but they've said that some of the NPCs will be out and about in the wilds of the game. And then Shantyman said two things. He said maybe shoulder button modifiers for console, perhaps, to get you to those quick slots. And then he said consumables, assistant emotes. Consumables, assistance. He said assistance again. And then emotes, and I think there was a fifth, but I can't remember. So maybe potentially 5 wheels?
Yeah, I feel like that's what I remember seeing. Was the 5, which, I mean, is going to be great because, heck, they keep adding more assistants now that actually have function.
I'm so excited because then it means for PvP, I don't have to swap out like half of my quick slot wheel because, man,
yeah,
I'm not going to lie, that's kind of semi-annoying sometimes if you're playing on a character that's not just a PvP character, because then I have to take out all my assistants or whatever to add in, repair kits or seeds or whatnot. So I'm kind of excited that you can hopefully just leave that.
Yeah, that'll be a good change for sure. So long as the implementation isn't clunky and annoying. But I feel like they'll probably do a pretty good job with that. It seems like it shouldn't be too hard of a thing to put in place. Not in terms of difficulty and coding it in, but for people that do that, I feel like thinking through how to make it work well shouldn't be too big of a thing.
Yeah.
So
something else they have that Sasquatch mentioned to us earlier is choose your own title screen music. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am so excited about that because I am a huge soundtrack junkie, and I'm just like, maybe I'm in a Morrowind mood today. Maybe not. Pretty exciting.
And
What's that next one there, Sasquatch?
The next one is Spanish localization because my typing is awesome.
I think you meant localization.
I think I did.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what localization looks like?
Yes. And no.
See? Or no?
They're correct. I was trying to think of something. I was like, I have no idea what localization could be.
It's where you get crazy because you're loca.
Loca. There you go. Yeah, they had mentioned the Spanish localization would be coming when they did the chapter announcement. So it looks like it's going to be coming in update 34, which is awesome for Spanish speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Also some accessibility improvements. Again, no details on what those will be, but that'll be nice for whoever they're nice for, I guess.
And the next one's kind of weird. I'm not really sure why they think we need ASMR in the game. I'm not,
what?
Oh, that says AMD FSR. My bad.
You're a mess.
I told you I'm illegitimate and can't read.
Okay. Oh boy. You see what I deal with like most of the time, everyone else? That's all. Okay. Anyway.
I'm literally the worst. So I'm told.
That's what I told him the other day. Actually, that was earlier today, wasn't it?
It probably was. I don't even... I think it was like early this morning.
Now it's 1 a.m. for me, so it wasn't earlier today. But anyway. This is nice for those people that didn't get the stuff with the DLSS and all of that last time. This is more graphics stuff for PC people, which is good, depending on the other chipset that you have. So that'll be nice for people to get some frame rate smooth out and all of that. Shantyman Gaming said in chat, it's where Stuga is when you log in, and I think that's localization. So. I love it. I agree.
I think we need to tweet that definition out for anyone who's unsure.
No, it just needs to say, somebody ask Sasquatch what localization means. Or maybe it should be a contest. You tell us what you think localization means. Oh boy.
Of course, anybody that's listening is just going to be like, "Oh, I know what it was. I was there."
Yeah, or maybe localization has to do with the fact that now you can have 12 pieces of gear.
Yes.
That is localization. No.
That is crazy talk. So we got to see a couple of, I think there may be some people out there that have maybe seen all of the different gear sets coming, but the three that really stood out, we'll get to that 12 piece in just a moment. But let's see, we have, is this the crafted set here? No, not that one. This one. So it's basically like a craftable Medusa set, I believe. Isn't Medusa the one I'm thinking of? With all of the crit chance.
Yeah.
So Order's Wrath is a craftable set coming with High Isle. Oh yeah, there it is. There's a picture of it right next to Medusa. So Medusa is a very commonly used set that offers just a ton of spell crit, which I think now is weapon and spell crit, but it adds spell crit at all of the bonus items, and then the last bonus on it is minor force at all times, increasing crit damage by 10%. But that's a set you have to work a little harder to get, whereas this one will be craftable. I don't know how many traits you need for it yet, but the 2-piece is 657 crit chance, 3-piece 129 weapon and spell damage, 4-piece 657 crit chance, 5 items 943 crit chance, and the other 5 item increases your critical damage and critical healing by 8%. So a very easily obtainable alternative to Medusa that you can craft and throw on basically any build if you're needing just a bunch of crit chance. And also increases your critical healing as well. So,
yeah, it's pretty cool because you got Medusa from Dungeon Arx Crinium, and then you got Mother's Sorrow, which is another crit set. That's an Overland in Deshawn, and then there's a craftable too. So now it's like to get a crit set, there's 3 ways to get a good crit set, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and the nice thing about having it in a craftable option is you can craft it in any armor weight. So if you're going to be going into PvP and you want to do a heavy armor set for survivability, but you want to get a ton of crit chance, there you go, craft that in heavy. I don't know that anybody wants to do that, but if that's your thing, there you go.
Hey, we don't know what you want to do because you're so meta.
I am the most meta of metas.
The other thing is
localization.
Yeah. The other thing is Medusa is heavy. So if you wanted to do like an arena weapon on your front bar or something, then you could craft that in a different weight and not have to throw heavy pieces on. Because normally Medusa is done with weapon and jewelry, since it's a heavy set.
I think I did not realize that when I was looking at this. Yeah, it's a good point. And let's see, the crit chance, is that medium or light armor? The passives for the armor bonuses. I forget.
Light.
I lied.
And
don't listen to me.
Is it crit chance and light armor and crit damage and medium?
That's what. Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then I think you get the pen from light and weapon and spell damage from medium.
Okay. Yeah. So a really, really solid addition to craftable sets. I'm pretty sure that this is one that I'm going to make a point to go ahead and get put into our guild house just as soon as I can. So that's one I think that would be very useful to people that maybe haven't had a chance to go and farm all the other pieces of the other gear sets. The next one is the new mythic item, Oaken Soul Ring. So it's got a ton of 5, 6, 7, 8 different bonuses, 9 different bonuses. Am I counting that right? Sorry, my arm moved. So it's a mythic. It's a 1 item. You get 300 weapon and spell damage, 3,816 armor, 300 health recovery, magicka recovery, stamina recovery, an additional 2658 health, magicka, and stamina. So just bonuses to everything.
It's just, you get a bonus, yeah. And you get a bonus, yeah. And you get a bonus.
You get all the things. But the trade-off is, while equipped, you're unable to swap between your primary and backup weapon slots. So what does that tell you?
It tells me that it's a 1 bar build.
Yeah, and there are some people out there that have done some really good 1 bar builds. There are people that regularly, like they make videos of them doing hard veteran arenas with just 1 bar. I've even seen some 1 button things, but
know who I love this for? Which this is probably a whole other tangent, but just thinking about it because of Extra Life. I love this for disabled gamers.
Oh yeah.
Because
wow, yeah.
There are, gamers that can only use a controller no matter whether they play on PC or consoles, and part of what their challenges can be sometimes is button combos or bar swapping. Mm-hmm. Which is why some of those 1 bar or the Easy Sork by Zynode has been praised numerous times for this. So, this to me makes that even more accessible for people with stuff that they want to potentially try. Mm-hmm. Because it can be like a 1 weapon, 1 set sort of thing. And I'm very excited to see if anybody builds any content kind of aimed at that. I don't really think that has been looked at from that perspective. I wish that I was a better, I don't know, what do I want to say? Like a figuring out builds person. Because that would be something that I would be interested in doing.
Theory Crafter.
Thank you, Theory Crafter. That's what I was looking for. It's 1:12 in the morning. Uh-oh. I just realized, too, our broadcast ended, so if anybody's watching...
my game crashed.
No!
Oh, no. Well, thankfully we're still going here. So, we're still good. We'll get the Twitch feed back up shortly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that this could be something very, very good for accessibility for gamers who may, not be able to utilize some of those more complicated or complex rotation builds.
Right.
That'd be kind of exciting.
Yeah, and I can imagine that you said Zynode has an easy build, easy Sork build. Mm-hmm. That's
easy Sork build.
Is that a 1 bar build?
I don't believe it's a 1 bar build, but the rotation is easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I've seen Hack the Minotaur's done some 1 bar builds. Deltia, I believe, has got some 1 bar builds out there. So yeah, this is gonna potentially create some really interesting combinations of things for how people can just set up a single bar and just go to town on some stuff. Be curious to see if this becomes like a primary a primary piece for even some harder content, just because of all of the stats and stuff that it gives you. I would imagine that it's probably not going to be the trade-off people want for some of the high-end stuff. But again, the accessibility thing, that's a huge point, and I did not even think about that.
Yep.
So, yeah, absolutely.
My brain's in that mode because I saw some amazing gamers, and like one of the girls that I met over the weekend. She plays with her feet.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, that's so
it's
cool.
amazing.
You know,
and she's got the Children's Hospital helped set her up with like things like she wanted to ride a bike and all of these things, and they built her things to be able to do that. So that's where my brain went to.
It really is a testament when you hear things like that of what people can overcome.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people probably just do it for fun. It's not necessarily like a requirement thing, but just seeing people do things like beating Dark Souls with a Rock Band drum kit, just silly things that people come up with to challenge themselves, to do things in a different way. So, I mean, yeah, hearing, somebody, playing with their feet, like I can't imagine what kind of patience it takes to learn to do something like that. But I mean, I guess maybe somebody that lives that way, that's their normal, to them. I'm not saying that it's easy, but I mean it's such an awesome thing to see when people can, just overcome things and say, you know what, I'm not going to be defeated.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think I saw a while ago Zinode posted the video, and it was just a shot of the guy's hand when he was playing. So he just had his one hand over top of his controller, playing the Easy Sork. It was pretty wild.
I think that there's been someone too in ESO who's done that build, who's has like a sight disability or is blind. So I've definitely heard of people making builds and using one bar builds for things like that. So I'm, like I said, I know. Sorry to open a whole separate conversation, but it just made me think of that.
No, that's awesome. All right, and then this last set. This particular set is not overly exciting for what it offers, but it's exciting for the precedent that it is setting. We will now have a gear set with up to 12 item bonuses. And all it does is alternates through your stat pools. So at one item, 1540 max health. 2 items, 1401 max magicka. 3 items, 1401 max stamina. And then it just repeats. Health, magicka, stamina. Health, magicka, stamina. Health, magicka, stamina. So you can get a ton of stats, but you're not going to get anything else. You're not going to get any crit or pin or anything like that. So I don't know that I see too many people really going a full 12 piece on this, other than just silly builds to play around with. So I'll probably do it.
Yeah, those numbers aren't finalized either, right? We don't know what's going to come out of PTS. So.
That's true. But just the fact that it doesn't do anything but offer a ton of stats. You're giving up a lot of other things to accomplish probably a little bit of overkill in stat departments. This is also a craftable set too, so you can go in and just craft this full 12-piece set.
So, is there a line for a 1-piece bonus?
There is, yeah. Yeah, so that's been what some people have, I've heard talk about this, have said is if you find yourself maybe where you've got an extra spot or up to 3 spots and you just need some extra stats, or you just need something to, fill 3 spots.
Yeah.
You have that option. So maybe you're running some weird one piece of a monster set, arena weapon, a mythic, yeah, and then you've got this random 1 extra slot. Hey, stick a 1 piece on there, you've got extra health. Or if you can throw the second one on there and get the extra magicka.
Yeah, and because I think the only other set that has a 1-piece bonus other than like mythics is the starter set in the starter zones.
Yes.
Because that's a 3-piece set and it has a 1-line or a 1-piece bonus. So it'd be really nice to just craft it if you just need that one extra piece.
Right. Yeah. But I think it's definitely interesting because we're finally, we've had 3-piece, 2-piece, and 5-piece, and with mythics the 1-piece bonuses, but it's always capped at 5. And now they're going all the way up to 12. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
Where, we're going to see some 7-piece sets where, you want to go full in on medium armor for, one of its passives, and they come up with a 7-piece set that further enhances what you get from medium armor. Who knows? I mean, the options, for this kind of stuff, they can really get creative by increasing the number of pieces that you can include into a set. But this may be we may not see anything else like this for a while. But it's definitely a neat concept, a neat premise that they're setting, or precedent rather, for things that they could do in the future.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have different, size sets. Because you just got the 5-piece, 2-piece, and now you have 1-piece with mythics. So yeah, it'd be cool to have. It's like with the 5-piece, it's that 5th piece that has the bigger bonus to it. And so if you could scale that down to say a 3-piece set, where that 3rd piece still gives you a bigger boost than a normal 3rd line, but not as much as a 5-piece. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, or even with what we talked about with that new mythic, where there's a trade-off. Well, we've seen that before. There was something with sprinting, right? One of the mythics gave you a bonus when sprinting. Yeah.
But or increase. What is it? Increase your speed, but you can't.
You can't.
Sprint or.
Yeah.
Or no, it's
something, but
immobilization.
Yeah.
You can't be immobilized, but you can't sprint, I think is what it is.
Yes.
Snow treaders?
You can't be the snow treaders. You can't be immobilized, but you can't be immobilized, sprint. But you also cannot sprint.
Yeah.
Okay. But like the Oaken Soul ring that we just discussed, where you can't swap bars. You talk about doing something different with a 3 or maybe a 4-piece set, where the stats might be as good as a 5-piece set, but you're going to have to trade. Maybe your health gets reduced for increased damage at a 3-piece set. You take a 1,500 reduction in your health to get 400 weapon and spell damage on 3-piece. Something like that. All kinds of things could be opened up with them doing this.
Yeah.
What would be interesting to see is mythic weapons.
Oh, for sure.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Which would be tricky with Destro staffs because they're 2-hander.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that'd be interesting to have.
I mean, you could, can add a second enchantment. Yeah, a second trait can be double traded.
Twiceborn Star, but not.
Right. Yeah, so you can have infused and Nirnhoned on the same weapon.
Oh no, that would just be. You're just talking crazy now.
But the trade-off is
let's not talk about the numbers that it would have to run for that. We're trying to make things better.
The trade-off, while in combat, you lose a percentage of your max, whatever your primary resource is, every 3 seconds or something. I'm just brainstorming off the top of my head. Just crazy ideas.
This is not a Wall of Crazy episode.
It's not, but hey, it could be.
Well, didn't they just come out with a crafted set that did something like that with 2 traits on a weapon, or?
I don't know.
Not that I know of. I mean, the Twiceborn Star set lets you have 2 Mundus stones.
Yeah, 2 Mundus.
I don't know beyond that.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, I'm probably falling behind a little bit on all of the different crafted sets, but I don't remember hearing.
Oh no, it's Heartland Conquer. Increase the effectiveness of your weapon traits by 100%.
Oh wow, is that a crafted set?
Okay. It's yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weapon and spell damage, magicka, stamina, and then increases the effectiveness of weapon traits by 100%. Does not affect ornate or intricate traits. Yep.
So you could double the penetration you get from sharpened.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, interesting.
Or your crit. Yeah. I know it's used a lot for the crit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And this has been your Theory Craft with Sasquatch and Never Seen.
That was me remembering sets wrong. So.
Well, hey, I mean, I can't even remember the name of abilities on my own class. So
it's fine.
It's fine. All right, well, let's keep moving because, man, we've still got a ton of stuff to talk about.
We're not even halfway through the notes. It's fine. Anyway, this next part though, it'll all go fast because it all ties into each other. So.
Yeah.
Did you both get to watch the video of the reveal? At least the portion of it that talked about the actual High Isle itself at all?
Yes. Watch/listen to parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went into a lot more detail with this, and I liked... So the last time they did a reveal, it was so short. And then this time I felt like it was very in-depth and very long, and they gave a lot of background and art background, which I thought was really, really nice, because it lets you see the process of what's going on with them. So it was pretty cool. They treated it almost like an interview, which was neat. So for High Isle, they talked a lot initially about the artist's perspective, and how they were looking at this sort of what they call a Breton Paradise Isle. A lot of what you're going to see in the town areas are based on Mediterranean town feel, but then they also have taken this White Cliffs of Dover from England and put the two of them together to give you essentially the kind of the art basis for some of this. But they also didn't want to stray too far from what the actual High Rock Bretons look like, because they already have that set for the game, right? So they've already got that basis, but they just wanted to add to it and make it a little bit more fancy, if you will.
Yeah, I think what he said is this is more Bretons, not new Bretons.
Yeah, I really like that.
I like that. Yeah.
Some of the quotes that you got out of this particular video are really, really poignant, I guess, when it comes to the lore perspective of what they did with them, which I liked a lot. So yeah, more Bretons, not new Bretons.
Yeah, just Bretons in their vacation homes.
Yeah, and I like that they said that they took the design and that kind of medieval and, dark design that they had a lot in High Rock, and then kind of flipped it a little bit and changed the color scheme and updated it and added different textures and stuff. So I'm very, very excited to see this sort of medieval town with that Mediterranean, a little bit of a feel. So I'll be excited. Or exciting, I should say. I also am... Some of the views that they showed of the biomes on the island, I am so probably way more excited than is healthy about this. They have 3 new biomes that they're looking at. 2 of them are going to be on the main island. The first one they talked about was Oakenbald. It's like a verdant forest. Yeah, this one I feel like I'm going to spend a lot of time just running around and listening to the background ambient noises and stuff like that, because I love that kind of foresty feel. I love that, I don't know, one of my favorite places in game is Grahtwood for that reason. I mean, we're sitting here now, but just running through the heavily forested areas, or like going through, what's the other one that's like super foresty? Malbaltor, right? Is pretty foresty. So think like that, but a little different, right? So Oakenwald. And then they also have the Sapphire Coast, which is kind of Somerset vibes, but it has the naval feel to it. So they've tied the two together so that like hoity-toity high elf and like color scheme that you see in the Somerset Isle, but you've got that additional like naval ship going peoples, if you will, feel to the area.
Isn't this supposed to be where like one of the big
the
fleets?
Navy.
Yeah.
Yep, where the Navy was made out of. So it's pretty exciting. And then they also have Amenos, or I think Amenos, is that how they said it? Which is a prison isle, which has got like a verdant rainforest. That area sounds amazing and terrifying all at the same time, because they mentioned a lot of like gangs or groups that were there that kind of don't want you there, and there's like a walled off area. So it'll be pretty fun to see how much that differs from the other two biomes. And one of the things that I'm very, very excited about, they showed this view of these sunflower fields. One of my favorite things about the Gold Coast is how they have little patches of flowers that look different than any other biomes in the maps that we really have in Tamriel right now. And in this one, it's like that times a bajillion.
Yeah.
So it's big, sweeping views with these sunflowers fields. And I am so excited to see that. I have a feeling I will be logging out and in, standing in the middle of a field of flowers somewhere.
And those flowers look like they're considerably taller than most of the...
They are. They were like...
waist high?
Yeah, there were patches of them that were taller in some areas, and then patches of them that were shorter, and they're facing different directions, so you can tell that the art team did a really good job with the texturing and with things in this area.
Yeah.
I'm going to be excited to see how it looks.
Yeah, I was just in Gold Coast the other day, and there are sunflowers there, but they are not nearly as pretty.
No, they are not. And they're just in little patches. They're like mostly right outside of Anvil. But you run into them a lot, and I have lots of screenshots of those as well, but I have a feeling that I'm about to have way more screenshots than a normal human should take once June hits. Something that Rich mentioned in the actual piece of the interview is he said, the Bretons are a feudal society, but the Druids play a part in this whole year. I was like, I'm sorry, did he say Druids? And then later on, one of the other people in the interview who I feel really bad, I'm absolutely blanking on his name right now, but he was one of the other developers for this video. He said it was fun to start to carve out the little pieces of the Druidic influence, knowing what's coming later.
Yes.
So there were people...
He just was like, hint, hint, look at quarter 3. That's what I felt like that was.
There were some people in the chat on that stream, the few minutes of it I got to see, that were speculating or asking or whatever for a new Druid class.
Yeah. Well, this is like my character. I'm a Breton warden.
Yeah.
And so I'm so stoked about this. Because, the other thing is, the Bretons are rumored to have descended from the Druids of Galen, which you can't really find anything out about. It was just one line in one of the older Elder Scrolls games.
Surprise!
But, like I said, my character, I'm a warden, a Breton warden, so I'm like, this is amazing. I'm so stoked about this.
Change my warden. Yeah, they showed a screenshot of this as well, of one of the areas that he was talking about. And I think there's just one, I don't remember if he said it was a delve or just a point of interest or something, or a small town, but it's very different architecture than we've seen in other like, it does not look like the other, what we would have kind of considered like maybe druidic influence stuff in the game that we already have. They were almost like huts. So it was like rounded buildings with these like folded, branches at the top, and kind of not thatch, that's not the right word, but definitely different architecture than we've seen in the game before. I'm pretty excited about that. And supposedly, I didn't see this in the main ESO one, but I was reading another article, and it said that this is supposed to be like in an old caldera of a volcano. Did you all know about that? That would make sense with the world events, which are supposed to be like little volcanic pockets. Now it makes sense to me, but they never really outright said that in this particular reveal, so I can't wait to see how they tie all of that together.
Yeah, I do remember them talking about the volcanic, gosh, I don't know what they call them, but just like the little small pools or whatever that would pop up various places. They talked about, you're rolling over a hill of sweeping flowers, and then next thing you know, oh, look, there's a little volcanic thing there. Kind of changes it up.
Yeah, a little volcanic vent. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's
and
the
then
word.
There's also some really fun screens that they showed us of this ghost ship delve kind of thing, which gave me mad Goonies vibes, so I'm really excited about that.
I think that's what the guy on stream said too, right?
Yeah.
Said he really liked it because it made him, every time it just made him think of watching the Goonies.
Mm-hmm. They also... Oh, go ahead, Sasquatch.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm in Oregon, so I've seen the Goonies house.
Oh, yes.
But also, in Oregon, we have Crater Lake, which is a mountain. There's a lake with a little island in the middle. And so it's a similar layout to the High Isle, where you have it's actually opened because of the bay, but you have the, high, where it's kind of mountains are on the outside with the island in the middle. And so it's, old volcanic. So makes a lot of sense to me, being an Oregonian, so.
So exciting.
Yeah, but I'm excited just for, like, being at the views overlooking that bay, and as I feel like there's going to be some stuff like just going up the mountains around the back of that island and overlooking the cities and stuff, so it's going to be cool.
Just going to have to buy the external hard drive now for the screenshots. Just put a sticker on the outside that says ESO screenshots.
Yes.
They also mentioned there are 3 main nightly orders on High Isle. They went into those a little bit, but that was kind of getting into the weeds for us here, so I didn't do too much on that. But they did talk about who the bad guys are, or who we would call the quote-unquote bad guys, but are they really bad guys? I don't know. The Ascendant Order. So the quote that stuck out to me that they talked about when it related to them was, they think that the common folk can fight injustice on their own, so they want to empower the common folk so that they can lose the shackles of nobility and free themselves from that sort of bad leadership. So, how bad are the bad guys? I suppose it depends on your perspective.
Yeah, like they playing a little bit with the moral gray areas.
Yeah, a little bit of some Robin Hood. Are we robbing from the rich to give to the poor, or what are we doing here?
Are they anarchists?
Yeah.
Well, they did say in the stream, they're like, well, they are killing a lot of people.
Yeah, that's what it was. They basically said the reason they're bad is because they don't care who they're killing to make this happen. They're just killing everyone. So they think that common people can fight injustice, but also if there's common people in the way, well, they're dead. So
yeah,
that doesn't exactly help your cause, They also mentioned having 2 new companions, Ember, the Khajiiti mage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited about her.
Yes, this one is excited to have a companion of his own kind.
this one is excited to know how much of a hot mess she is because that's all they kept talking about.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Again, we won't go too much into this, but she's apparently very different. They took a lot of the feedback that they got from the companions this past year, and how, without saying it, they basically said everybody said they don't like Bastion. And they liked Miri's playstyle more, so they wanted to kind of build on that. Now, that's not a never say never. Like, I'm sure that there's still some of that type built into future companions, or maybe built into one of these two. But they definitely mentioned that these two are different from the previous two.
Well, they even said that Ember. They said Ember might get you into trouble.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm wondering if she's just going to be like running around pickpocketing folks. Or...
Oh my god,
that would be amazing.
Can you imagine if you're like in the middle of a town and she gets sticky fingers and then the guards start attacking you?
Yeah, that's.
Oh man.
Yeah, it could be a fun time.
They said that she has, even though she grew up on the streets and she's kind of a little bit, of a mess, like you said. They said that she does have some guilt, and
I think they called her a trash fire.
Yeah, and they said that's part of what you're helping her work through is just some of her guilt for things that she's done, and so it could be that as you build rapport and level up with her, that you get her to stop doing some of the things that are getting you in trouble. That may be a mechanic that would take way more to implement with having a NPC stealing things, but it would be fun if you run around and all of a sudden she comes up and says, "Hey, I took this." She gives you some like random piece of garbage armor that you can sell to a fence for gold or something.
Well, yeah, 'cause that's her bonus. Like Bastion gets you extra potions, and Miri gets extra pouches from
she gets
treasure chest.
Stuff you steal.
She just steals random stuff,
or increases the value because she knows all the fences. So if you steal stuff,
that could be. Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
We also have Isabel. She is from a minor noble house in the High Isle, so she's the exact opposite of Ember, which is pretty exciting. They said that she's very knightly. So again, it'll be fun to see her storyline and how that plays out. But the biggest thing that I took away from the companions, other than themselves and their personalities, is they mentioned the feedback about dialogue and variety. Some of the stuff that we were speculating about a few episodes ago, they kind of mentioned they're doing that.
Well, clearly they listen to us.
Yeah. Totally. They could just absolutely implement that so fast. They didn't have it in the works already.
Everyone. You're welcome.
They did not have it in the works already. But like more dialogue, more variety. You might even get backstory if you're just standing around with them. So, wow. So excited to hear that.
So more than some great harvesting here.
It sounded more like they'd be commenting more on your surroundings and encounters you have.
So excited.
Which is cool because when they released the companions, they had said this is pretty stripped down. We're just getting the bare bones, make sure the system works, make sure people enjoy it, and that we can build on it. And so it's cool to see already coming out, and we'll see just how much they get to expand that. And but yeah, I'm excited to see how much more personality they have, because I haven't been too impressed with companions just because I'm pretty comfortable soloing stuff myself, and then the dialogue can get a little repetitive.
Yeah.
So
pretty exciting. The next one is the love it or hate it news of the year for ESO, and it's Tales of Tribute. So I think we'll eventually end up doing probably a smaller episode on this itself, where we might be able to go more into the actual mechanics of it. So since we've been talking a lot. I'm going to cut out a lot of the mechanics that we have in our show notes for now, but just talk a little bit about the basics for it. So from the lore perspective, they basically looked at what would the people of Tamriel do in taverns besides drink with their friends. This had to feel, the word they used was grounded. They wanted it to tie into storylines. They wanted to feel like it's something that has been in the world, something that is living and breathing and changing and grounded in what we know in Tamriel. The artwork that they showed on these cards and stuff, I mean, I know that some people are not into card games, but I think that the deck building and like the actual view that they showed of the card table looks pretty darn cool.
Yeah, the table looks a little plain, but that was part of them saying that they wanted it to feel grounded. You know, it's not, you're not supposed to be playing a digital card collecting game. You're supposed to be in a world before modern technology where it's just a board on a table playing card game. So it does make sense that it would be just more of a kind of a plain playing space.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a lore reason for why it's like that.
Right. There are kind of two modes. There's like a PvE mode where you're going to go through a storyline or learn a storyline and challenge what they're calling masters, which are other, like NPC type characters, I think. Decks... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so basically every Kung Fu movie where, the Kung Fu people go around and challenge the other masters, except this is cards.
Yeah. Exactly. The decks are known as patrons. That's what they kept calling them. So the actual decks that are in the game are known as patrons. And they are Tamriel-wide, even though the game originated in High Isle. So they were very specific with that. Because I think they want to expand upon it later, since it's, coming into the game 8 years in. It's got to feel like it's been there, even though we may have not seen it before. So I'm sure they'll kind of go back and do stuff with that. It is a turn-based deck-building game. I think they said that you have like 90 seconds a turn or something like that when they demonstrated it on stream. Mm-hmm. It was no timer. And it is only a 2-player game. As far as we know, will always only be a 2-player game for now. There are essentially three types of cards in the game. There's an action-based card, there is a contract card, and agent cards. All of those have different things that they do. Again, we can talk about that later when we go into an actual, maybe a bigger episode on this, for the PvE stuff. For the PvP, essentially, that they're calling it, that's where you can walk up to another player and challenge them to a game. So it's the same thing as if you walk up to another player in the world and you challenge them to a duel, you can challenge them to a round of Tales of Tribute. There will also be an option for a new, looking for group system. So think of a queue for Tales of Tribute. It will tie into a ranking system. And there are supposed to be seasonal leaderboards for this type or this section of the game. They will give rewards as well. So they mentioned right now cosmetics, different emotes, specialty crafting mats or different crafting mats, and transmutes. So there's another way for us to get transmutes. Yes. Maybe there's a daily Tales of Tribute. Play one game, or beat 2 opponents at Tales of Tribute, or whatever.
Tales of Transmutes.
Yeah, Tales of Transmutes, exactly. To get your transmutes for the day.
And they also said furnishings.
Oh yes, I did miss furnishings. Thank you.
Yes.
Furnishings as well.
And speaking of furnishings, Zos, I know you're listening. This is something
tables.
We need, gaming tables to put in our house so we can just walk up and interact and play with folks. That would be an awesome way to do it. Come on over to my house. Let's play some cards.
Yeah. Or for guilds, they could hold tournaments, which would be really fun.
Yep. Needs to be a thing. So let's get that done.
Could be a good time.
Yeah. So like the crazy person said, once we can get some time to figure out a little bit more about it, maybe we're going to do a separate thing just covering the card game in more detail, because it's a lot, and I'm not sure that anybody that hasn't had a chance to play it, some people have gotten to, really understands what's happening with it. So
yeah, and I would like to see what a few more content creators put out on it, because they may give us some more information that will make it easier to podcast format, you know.
Yeah.
So, could be fun.
So, Crown Esso just posted in chat, spectating. If 2 people are using the table, you can choose to watch them play.
Yes.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and even if you want to carry that a step or two farther, you know, old arcade rules where whoever, you know, you put a quarter down, you take the winner. You know, you get to come up and, you know, you get to next in line. Whoever wins this game, I'm challenging them to the next game. You know,
oh man, that would be awesome.
That's whole other systems that would have to be implemented, and probably not priority with all the other things that need to happen with the game. Yeah. But it would be awesome
more numbers to process.
Yeah, it would be really cool if they had a way to do it. But even just spectating would be cool. You know, if we have a guild tournament, you can you know, limit by however many people are allowed in your house. So if you've got 12 people in your house, 10 of them can spectate, and you can have your tournaments running that way. That'd be awesome. Man, that's such a good idea.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, as you get knocked out of the tournament, then you just start watching the other matches. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely think Tales tournaments are going to be a thing, without a doubt. I'm already seeing us trying to plan some tournaments, and with some prizes and stuff to go along with. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Really cool way to hang out. So let's keep going. We're getting pretty long here.
We're getting there.
So speaking of content creators, we've watched. I've had a chance to kind of watch a few things that people that have had their hands on it have gotten to share. They haven't been able to show their own content so far. I think they've only been allowed to show certain parts of things, and I think some of it was even like footage that they were given. But they were allowed to discuss some different things, and I believe it was Deltia. Not entirely sure, but I believe it was Deltia. Even talked about seeing a mechanic similar to Craglorn in the new zone, where you walk up and interact with something in the world, and he said it gave him a buff that was giving him significant increases in XP. So I think he said he thinks it was somewhere in the ballpark of like a 25% XP buff, which if there's an area you can farm while that buff is active, in addition to 100% event buffs and your 150% XP scrolls and your training gear, I mean that could help you level up really quick. But we'll have to see what they do with that by the time it actually comes out. That was early build. Something could be changed drastically by the time we actually get it. They may even take the XP thing out and throw something else on it.
Cool. I have a proposal for you two gentlemen.
Yes.
What about...
Sorry, I'm just looking at the notes.
it was kind of that, but it was because I think it could tie to that. I think it could tie to that bottom topic that we discussed moving for a future week already. I think the two things that we have left could actually go tie into that topic potentially. Or at least the next one could tie into it. Perhaps the bottom one about overland content and the skills wouldn't, but the other one probably could.
Yeah.
Or we can just hit them because they're pretty short.
Yeah, I think we go ahead and cover it because it's things that these are things that I kind of found sort of by accident, or I guess because I search a lot of ESO stuff and people maybe don't follow as closely as we do, and that's why they're here.
Okay, so let's do it.
So, and we don't have to go into detail. We'll try to link these articles so you can go read them in full. But A couple of articles that I came across. Rich Lambert was interviewed in a few different places and was asked about, a possible ESO2. And he kind of just asked the question back, like, what would that be? It's one of the options he gave was, maybe that would be a different era. We're in the second era now. So if they were going to do an ESO2, it would have to be just a different era. Otherwise, just keep making the game that they're making. So he said players love it. The game's still growing. So there's no point in endangering that. Just continue to make the game we're already playing amazing and support the community we have. So we're definitely not done. Lots of locations we still want to explore, loads of stories to tell, slowly filling the map out. Gives you kind of a hint about the future, but we also have a nearly infinite number of realms of oblivion that haven't been explored. They ask him, hey, you guys going to make a sequel? And he essentially said, no, not really. It's not really something that we're looking to do, and there's no real good reason to do it.
It cuts the player base,
Right. Yeah, I think the majority of people that are consistently playing this one now would consider moving over, but one reason I could see it being a thing, and we've kind of discussed it I think before, that it could just even be that there comes a point that they just do this anyway, is and we'll get to this in a minute with this other one, but the previous gen consoles, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, there's not a whole lot more. I mean, those systems are so limited in what they can handle that it's going to get harder and harder for them to continue to do things on those. So you can have a clean break with an ESO2 and say, well, now it's next gen only or current gen, whatever. But they could also just say, going forward, we'll no longer be adding this new content to that game. But that becomes a hard sell, because why keep playing for ESO Plus if you're no longer getting any of the new content with it? One thing I above maybe more than getting an ESO2, I would like to see would maybe if they could move over to a different engine that allowed them to do more. Like Unreal 5 is supposed to be ridiculous. If they wanted to try to move over to an updated engine that gave them flexibility on better graphics, better animations, better, fill in the blank. But whether or not they want to do that, I think they use their own engine for this game. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what they use.
I think they did.
Yeah, so I don't know that I see them doing that anytime soon, especially. But that would be the other option to a sequel that I could see, is trying to migrate. But that could, throw in a whole other bunch of problems with coding and, performance problems that you don't want to have to fool with in the middle of a live service game that, 18 million people or so supposedly play now?
They're getting close to 21 million accounts now.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, that's a lot of people to start going that big on what you're doing in game.
Yeah.
So, and then the other article, before we move on to that, do y'all have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I can't say I'm surprised at Rich's answer, because, I personally don't, I agree. I don't really see a reason to move to something until we get to the point where, we're completely capped out and can't, it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
There's no point personally in splitting the player base, or it would have to have some very, very large incentive to make people want to completely go to a different game that they have sunk, by then it would be well over a decade, or, lots of money into ESO Plus. You can't, you don't want to think about that stuff when you've been playing the game for 8 to 10 years,
Yeah.
So I just don't realistically, at this moment anyway, see them doing that.
Yeah, for a long time I always said I could never see myself being one of those people that basically spends thousands of dollars on a singular game.
Well,
but
here we are.
You know, by the time you pay a sub every month and you buy the expansions, and it's like,
don't think about it.
Oh gosh, it's so much money. But that's a big thing to tell people to walk away from. Hey,
well,
and
you know,
go ahead.
I was going to say, and you could end up getting better performance out of it, right? Because at that point, they know not the mistakes, but they know the challenges that they had with the previous one, and when they start fresh, you can theoretically, get rid of some of that stuff. But, yes, that would be a draw. Better performance, better graphics, better engine, better, all of those things. But what are you going to do to your player base? And so much of what ESO is community and community driven and community friendly. So, that's definitely something they have to take into account.
Yeah, and and also not just the financial investments that people have, even just the time in game and all of the things that, think of all the motifs you've learned, all the skill lines you've maxed out. You just basically would be starting over. You'd be having to create a new character and then 12 more new characters and level them all up again. I mean, it's a lot of time invested.
Well, they could.
Go ahead.
I wasn't trying to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, they could do like a transfer your character deal. You know what I'm saying?
But that would go against what Rich said about it would need to be like a different era.
Yeah, exactly.
Why create a second game if you're going to be using the same characters in the same time and with the same things going on, and then having to ask people to switch all that stuff over.
Yeah, I just don't think they'll go to that until the older generation consoles are no longer supported.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's basically my thought. I don't think they'll come out with a new game, but if they were to, update it to the point where, like you said, it's a new engine or something, so it's a major upgrade, but that would only be at the point when, they're not going to be gutting their player base by taking away support from last-gen consoles.
Yeah, there's still so many of those things in use right now.
Yeah.
It's not an insult. I'm saying that's there are a lot of PS4s and Xbox Ones still out there for either people can't afford to move or haven't been able to find a new system, or just don't care to right now. It's just not a thing that they're even worried about. They're like, you know what, the game runs fine. I talked about it before. That's where I was with Destiny 1. I was like, this is the game I'm playing. It runs on the PS3. I don't have to worry about moving up right now. And then they said, oh, well, the things we're going to be doing with this next expansion, the PS3 can't do it. So we're gonna drop support for that. And if you want the new content, you have to get a PS4. And it was visually not just fidelity wise, but just the amount of things happening on the screen that with visual effects, with the weather and things like that. The PS3 wouldn't have been able to handle it. So they very well could come a point where they say, sorry guys, in order for us to keep this game going, we're going to have to take those limitations off. And the only way we can do that is, to cut support on these older systems. And, Destiny did keep the game live for the older, so you didn't just lose access to the game, but you just weren't going to get the new stuff anymore. So, but if they eventually completely drop support for the older systems, you may see some things visually improve at least, because then they don't have to account for all those variations. But anyway.
Well, and then you also got furnishing caps and stuff. Haven't they said that that's based off of the older gen consoles? Because that's the max they can. And even you hear about people that on their last gen consoles will still get kicked out of their own house, booted from the game, because still too much with their housing limits that they have. So, yeah, I think until they drop support, nothing's going to happen. But I still don't see an ESO2. Like you said, there's just too much of the map to fill up.
Yep. Yeah, there's just no real good reason to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the next article, and this interviewer, let's see, what is this person's name? Alicio Palumbo. I may be pronouncing that name wrong, so if you ever hear this, apologies. But he did ask some questions, and some of the questions are fairly tough questions. Very direct, and I just got logged out. But anyway, the first question he asks basically is, what are you doing now that in regards to how your team is structured? Because, during the pandemic, they had to go to working from home, not being able to be in the office. And Rich said, they learned how to do a lot of things while they were in that setup. He said, but they are in a hybrid setup now where they've got people that are coming into the office and some still working from home. And that production is back to a point now. It's better than it was in full lockdown, but still some things that they're trying to improve on. But that they've learned how to mitigate a lot of the problems that they were facing. And they were asked about the feedback from the hybrid changes. Rich has been really positive. Initial reactions were like, what are you doing? But now that people have kind of had a chance to get in and play around with it, people seem to be really enjoying what they see so far. And so this guy says, I'm personally playing a Magicka Templar. So this is someone who plays the game, which is good. Because they actually have some perspective. They're not just some random interviewer that, has a list of cookie cutter questions to ask, but is actually asking based on, their own experience. He says, I'm a Magicka Templar, but I've picked up lots of stamina skills. It's fully hybrid right now, and it feels pretty good. Planning to do more work in that area to improve hybrid builds further. I said, yeah, certainly looking at other things, definitely looking at balance issues. I don't think I can say with an MMO that will ever be done because we constantly get new players who keep finding new things and finding things that they want to fix. And then they ask, just to see if we can dispel one of the myths running within the Elder Scrolls Online community. Is it true that you'd have problems introducing any additional skill trees due to limited memory of old generation consoles, PlayStation 4, Xbox One? So this is kind of what we were just talking about, right? And his answer, nothing is impossible. I mean, we do have to be careful. There's only so much memory on those consoles for sure, and we have to be smart about what we do. We do have to focus on performance and making the game run really well, so there's a balance. And the guy says, okay, but it's not impossible that new skill trees may be added to the Elder Scrolls Online in the future. It is not impossible, no.
I love that response.
So basically, we talk about wanting new skill lines and new classes and things like that. And Rich pretty much said, yeah, that's one of the things that makes it harder to do those things is that there's only so much memory on those older consoles. And if we're going to introduce new things, we can't just infinitely throw new things at it. We have to kind of pick and choose what is most important at the time. Then they're asked about... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Shantyman Gaming posted in chat that, kind of referring back to the performance, or the ESO2 thing, but kind of applies to this, is a good example to look at would be Final Fantasy XIV. it was the expansion that came out 4 years after the PS4 that they stopped support for PS3.
We're rolling up.
So the PlayStation 5 came out over a year ago now. What, year and a half?
Roughly.
So, but so that would be interesting. That's another MMO that actually did drop support on the last console.
Final Fantasy XIV was on the PlayStation 3?
I didn't realize that, but apparently it was.
I did not. I don't guess I realized that either. I've never actually played it, so...
Well, didn't they reboot it? So was that the original version of it?
When it came out, it was not received well. Yeah. So they basically went back and, overhauled a ton of things in the game. And it's kind of one of those success stories of where a game didn't launch well, but then they stuck to it and righted the ship, so to speak. Much like, ESO when it came out. Had a lot of negative responses, and then they changed a bunch of things, and 20 plus million players later, here we are.
So apparently they dropped support for PS3 4 years later, so it'd be interesting to see if there would be some sort of timeline like that they would drop support, that ESO could drop support for last gen console. And then kind of referring back up to the article that you were just talking about, if that would be when they could release a new class or something like that. When,
I mean, you got to think that people that are the most serious gamers and dedicated to their console of choice, or even if they're switching consoles, 4 or 5 years out, most likely they're upgrading, and the people that haven't by that point are probably casual enough that they're not enough of the player base, or not to minimalize anybody, because these are video games and not, it's not, if you don't play enough, you're less of a person. I'm not saying that, but they are not going to be enough of a determining factor to limit everyone else playing the game on. Because they probably, if the game went away, they probably go, oh well, I'll just go play this other game instead in my 30 minutes a week I play, because this is not a game you play. You can play casually, but it's at the same time, if you're going to play regularly, it is a time investment.
Yeah, and people playing that casually also probably aren't as financially invested if they're, people buying crowns, buying DLC, subbing. So as a company, wouldn't be as big a hit financially if those particular players weren't upgrading.
So I would imagine by that time frame that probably is a realistic thing to kind of expect to see coming. I mean, Sony's probably going to end up dropping support largely for a lot of that stuff by then. I mean, their console exclusives right now are still their major, like God of War and Horizon, are still PlayStation 4 bound. But I think we're starting to, that's going to shift soon. And their first party exclusives are going to end up being their current gen only. So as you see that shift happen, I think it's probably fair to assume that they could very well, this game could very well do the same thing. They were asked about performance. You mentioned performance, big thing under the hood for quite a few years now. How's that going? And Rich says, we're further ahead on the client side of things in terms of things like memory usage and frame rate and whatnot. Server side is a very, very long, slow process. Like Matt mentioned at the end, we're reworking a lot of things on the back end, so it takes time. Server-wise, in terms of data center refresh, we're getting really close to that. Then they talk about some of the stuff, with the problems they have with the update. We've already talked about that. And then they're asked, they asked the question, what about crossplay? Is that something that could be introduced at some point? He says, I don't think anything's impossible. You spend enough time and resources, you can probably find solutions. But it's a very, very thorny problem to have. They just celebrated the 8th anniversary, been in development since 2007. Some of those decisions were made in 2007 are very hard to undo. Outside of technical challenges, also mega servers and whole communities and social circles and economic circles. What happens if you start taking some of those people out of those and putting them in others? It's definitely a thorny problem. We don't have any plans to do that right now. So what he's saying is, you go to Guild Traders, you want to buy those really hard to find skin changer motifs, and on PlayStation they may sell for 145,000 gold a piece. On PC they might sell for 239,000 a piece. Just the economies are different, and you start to combine those things. If you combine even guild traders and things like that, now could they do it where your guild trading stays to your platform? I don't know, but when you start combining those economies, people that are making X amount of money regularly suddenly go, oh, why did our prices dip? And it's because you have however many millions of other players used to different prices now.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I wouldn't have even really thought about, but, that's what they get paid to do, is to think about those kind of things. Yeah, and then PvP editions, they're still working on it. So the answer everyone loves.
Standard answer.
Yeah, we're still working on it. We'll leave that alone. They were asked about the Endeavors and the big bump we got to the Endeavors for 1 week, if that was going to be a regular thing. And he's like, nah, that's probably not going to be a regular thing, but pay attention to the coming weeks, and numbers are going to get tweaked a lot. So they're trying to, make sure they've got a good balance there. Because the guy asked him, he's like, it's cool that you added that. It's really great. But some of the stuff just takes a long time, even if you regularly do dailies and weeklies, before you can buy anything of any that, anybody would really be interested in buying. Like, oh, you want that cool mount? Grind for 6 months,
Yeah.
So that is a thing. It is a way to get stuff without having to spend real money. So I don't think that there being a grind for some of that stuff is unfair. Maybe it could be lessened some. What do you guys think about that?
I think the main thing with it is that you're still limited to how much you can grind. So you still have only so many you can get per day, per week. And so it's just like, oh, cool. I could get, if I do them every day, every week, I could get a Radiant Apex, right, every 6 months. But then you get one, and then the next one comes out, and you're like, oh, I want that one. But I can't, there's no way I can grind it out.
And they're limited time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So I could see it could get frustrating there. And I mean, I haven't spent any of my Endeavors, and I haven't done them consistently, but I'm just like 8,000, which is like, I think the Apex, not the Radiant Apex, are like double that.
Yeah,
and
they're like,
it's just like,
I think one was 20 or 22 or something at one point.
Yeah. So it's just like, well, it's not a big deal for me, but I'm just saving them up, and then if something cool comes along, I'll get it. But
it's hard for me because on one side of the fence, I'm like, gosh, that's kind of a ridiculous number. But then on the other side of the fence, I'm like, yeah, but they're giving it to you almost for free. Because, all you're doing is logging in and doing certain things that align with maybe your play style, and then you're getting it. I mean, the way that I deal with Endeavors is I just do what I normally do, and if it lines up, hooray, and I get the Endeavors. And if not, then, oh well, missed them today. But I would say like 9 times out of 10, I get all 3 for the day. The weekly ones are hit or miss, because sometimes if it's like, do X amount of dungeons per week, well, I don't have time to do that, Or like, do one arena. Not that I don't want to do it, but sometimes I don't have the time to be able to sit down and just blow through, Maelstrom in 30 minutes or whatever, So, it's hard because I can see how people feel both ways, but I don't necessarily. I just kind of sit right in the middle, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
Is the fence comfortable?
No.
Yeah, I'm not too torn up about it. I think it would be nice to have more ways to do it, or something, but I'm not gonna get all upset about it. It's just not worth all that. All right, let's keep getting through this so we can finish up, because we are definitely running long, and I know for some of us it's stupid late.
We're not. I'm not looking at the clock anymore.
So they ask about returning characters. Yes, there's going to be some fan favorites coming back. An estimate on how long it takes to complete the story in this chapter. He said to do every bit of content, roughly 30 hours, so similar to the others. And they're asked if they think that Tales of Tribute will take players out of the game world, and so we're not worried about that because we want the game to be full of options. The more ways players have to enjoy, the better. Let's see, we'll skip over some of this. It's Tales of Tribute stuff. Seasons on Tales of Tribute will last 30 days, so there's that. And one of the so the last thing that they're asked, let me find it. The final question. This is where he kind of addresses him pretty bluntly, not impolite, but he says the final question is kind of a pet peeve of mine. I love questing in the Elder Scrolls Online and have often compared it even to single-player RPGs for its quality, but there's a downside that lots of players have been discussing on Reddit and other forums. That's the difficulty level of questing, story, and overland content. It's just too low, even if you are not fully decked in trial gear. So my question is, did you consider adding an optional veteran-like mode for those who'd like to play, for example, the storylines or even overland content with a greater level of challenge? And then they say that's difficult to answer because difficulty is subjective. Millions of players, a large portion of them find the game hard and overland content challenging. I don't know, maybe like when you're new. That's what he says, as a new player when you don't have gold and gear and champion points. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's some of that, but that gets alleviated pretty quickly if you play regularly.
Yeah.
And I would say, though, depending on your build, though, too, some world bosses can still be a challenge. Like, I know for me with mine, sometimes I just don't have the sustain or the health that I need to get through a world boss. I may have the damage just fine, but unless I don't, unless I'm nuking it right away, like, I'm gonna die.
Right.
So, again, that's part of that, overland being challenging. There might be other people who have tons of sustain and have no problems, but it takes them 15 minutes to plink away at it, and by then somebody else has shown up, so it's hard.
But if you think about in terms of all of the questing and stuff you do,
yeah.
Even when you get to the boss at the end of a quest line,
I agree.
You're going to drop them in about 4 seconds, and it's I mean, they occasionally add some bosses with some mechanics and things that change that a little bit, but.
Well, can I ask both of you, have you done the Markarth chapter?
I have not.
Yes.
Yeah. The boss fight at the end of that wasn't long, but it wasn't short because of the mechanics.
Yeah.
It was a rinse and repeat situation, and yes, with high DPS, like not a hard rinse and repeat, but you couldn't just be like, we're done.
Well, Elsewhere, Southern Elsewhere, I think's the one I finished. That fight, it was a little bit longer too, kind of for the same reason. It wasn't hard; it took a little longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of probably the balance they found, because trying to make it, because part of it is just like if you just burn them down, you don't get their dialogue.
Right.
So it's like you miss out on dialogue for the quest. And so they've come up with these, mechanics that help slow it down so that you're actually getting, even though you're just burning through the sections where you can deal damage or whatever, you're still getting the experience of like, it's actually more of a drawn out fight. you know,
but
I personally would like to see them more difficult as well. Like, I mean, Overland, I'm to the point now where most of the time I'm just like light attack skill, and most mobs are just dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, all of the regular mobs just kind of fall down at your feet. And that's where, you know, so I'll just ask this, and we can make this kind of the closing thing. Would you like to see some way of activating a harder difficulty, or what would be an idea for how they could do that? I have one, but I'll let you two go first.
No CP.
No CP. Okay.
Like, I mean, that's not really a great idea, but, you know, kind of like the changes that you feel when you go into no CP Cyrodiil versus a CP Cyrodiil situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're removing some of your extra buffs and damage things that you have done, it's going to make it harder for you. So, a way to toggle on and off your CP for Overland content.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, I don't know that's definitely not the best solution, but
I think the biggest issue with doing a thing like that would just be the splitting players, which I mean, Cyrodiil does it like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm not saying that it would put you in a different instance or anything, but I suppose that would be how it would have to work, right?
You just disable your CP.
I'm just saying, you just disable your CP.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not talking about instancing. I'm talking about I can go into my menu, and right now when I log in, I'm turning my CP off, so it's not calculating my CP. It's only giving me what I'm wearing and what I have as my racial base.
Yeah.
Like my passives.
Yeah, no, that's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm curious how much of a difference. Like, I haven't gone without my CP, so. But I'm curious if that would make that much of a difference or not. When you have really good gear and have learned how to, you know, light attack weave and things like that, where it's still going to burn stuff down pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't think it would make a huge difference, but it might with survivability. If you're a person that puts a lot of your CP into survivability stuff, right?
Yeah.
So again, not really the best solution, but could be a option. Or like a hard mode. You know, like I wish we could toggle that on.
Yeah, so I would love to see a harder mode. My thought is just kind of how something similar to the low level buff, right? So with, you know, one Tamriel, everything's the same level, but at a low level you get buffed up to be able to take on all the content in the game. If there's something kind of reversing that, so it was like an Overland debuff to your character almost.
Oh, okay. So like when you're over CP and at a certain CP level or something, you're getting a...
Or, if it was like, something you'd still, you know, be able to toggle on and off. But I'm just thinking if it's a similar system to that, it could be easier to do. I don't imagine it'd be easy at all. But working kind of opposite of that low-level buff that is already in place.
So my thought, this is other game, and this game does it to some degree, kind of what you were just saying about everything being the same level, but just better scaling of the world based on your level. For example, with the Borderlands series, the last couple of games, and the newest one especially, basically what you fight is your level. So even if I'm level 3 and you're level 20, an enemy's going to be level 20 for you, level 3 for me. So it scales to you based on where you're at. I don't know how they factor champion points into that, but increase, the way that the world scales based on your level. So make the world more difficult, by having it be X levels higher than you. So 160 is our current cap. So have enemies cap at 170 when you're fighting them at 160. Something like that.
Yeah. I think the problem with that is, I think the way it's set up right now is all the NPCs, they're all at the same level, and so all of the scaling happens with your character, not with the world, and so that would be a whole new something that they would have to program in. That's why what I was saying is, like, if all of that happens on your character. So when you start out at level 1, there's a hidden buff that buffs you up to fighting whatever the NPCs are, or CP 160 or 50 or level 50, whatever.
Right.
And so I just think that programming wise, like, that's a whole new thing that they'd have to do to buff up the enemies as well.
So the guy doing the interview says, I did see there is a pinned Overland content topic on the official forums where you were gathering feedback, right? He says, yes, it comes up pretty often, definitely a hot topic. He said, okay, well, I hope there will eventually be an optional harder difficulty level for those who'd like that kind of challenge, even while questing. And Rich replies, noted. So it's something that they've heard, they know about. There's an official forum. You can go and leave feedback there. And who knows what we'll see. Guys, let's go ahead and wrap up. It's very late. And hopefully people don't have to be anywhere too early.
We had so much to talk about. It was good discussion,
And we didn't even get into everything we could have. So,
no, we had more, but we realized it's a lot. And it was a heavy news week, Yeah. When the stuff releases, it's always a big week. So it's excitement. It's, oh gosh, is that bug gonna keep going? It's all of that. So
I kept finding more articles where Rich was being interviewed, and it's like, oh my gosh, more stuff to talk about.
Yeah. But I love that because it means that the game is healthy. Well, healthy from the perspective of community, even if it's got bugs and it's got challenges.
Right.
In general, it means the community is healthy enough that there's people wanting to do interviews and wanting to know more. So it's good.
Yep.
I think we've pretty much turned into a Tales of Tamriel episode tonight, essentially. There.
Well, hey, we have as many listens as they do episodes, right? So. That says something. Yep. All right. Well, so if you would like to get in touch with us, you can reach us at on Twitter at Snugpod Cast. Where can they email us?
snugpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, I don't want to take your thing away. I know you love the email. And what about our Twitch? Where do they find us on Twitch?
Well, if they've been watching us tonight on Twitch, we've been on twitch.tv/Snugpodcast.
Yep.
When we haven't had scamps.
Yeah, gotta hate those things. And if you want to find us on YouTube, you can just search A Snugpod Cast on YouTube, and there we are. If you're listening and you think, man, it would be really cool to watch this live, it's really not that cool. Then that's how you can find us, and you can watch us live. Or on YouTube, you can watch us back previous episodes. And if you're watching and think, I really don't want to sit and watch this, could I just listen in my car? Yes, you can. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and a handful of others that are also pulling our feed. So you've got lots of ways to find us. So go check us out on whatever your preferred method is. And if you can leave comments for feedback or, reviews, any of that kind of stuff, do that so we kind of get some ideas on what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, which is clearly nothing. And
wow.
Yeah, okay. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, just the name says it all. It's just clever.
I got kid aggro. So if I'm not back by the time we end, thanks everybody. Hold on.
We have a guild housing contest coming up. We'll talk more about that maybe on the next episode. Because I don't have all the details for that. I don't think we have all the details ready for that. But be listening and maybe watching if you're with us in Discord for information on a guild housing contest. And speaking of the Discord, if you're looking for a guild and you want to come hang out with us, you can go to loreseekerseso.org and there will be an apply to guild button there, and you click that and it takes you into the Discord where you will be asked to fill out a quick application. It doesn't take but just a few minutes, and once that's done it gets sent over to officers and someone will get you approved pretty quickly, so long as you are not a total jerk. And so far so good for the most part. It does a pretty good job of keeping our community a pretty healthy place to be. And come play with us. We're on all the platforms, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, which is where we are. And we'd love to have you, and look forward to hanging out again soon. Does anyone have anything before we go?
Nope.
Did we cover everything? Crazy, are you back?
Oh, we covered a lot.
We covered a lot. Not everything, though. All right. Well, I don't think she's made it back yet. Had to go take care of the child. So we will go ahead and finish up. Thanks for joining, and we will see you again next time. Have a good night, good day, whatever it is, the time you're listening. Oh, is that her?
It's me.
Oh, she's back right as we're saying goodbye.
Oh, I was just gonna pretend to be you and say goodbye.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, please do. Please do.
I'm going crazy. Goodbye.
Okay, now you do him. You do him.
And I'm Sasquatch. Bye.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.